Hello and welcome to another instalment of Scott in the Dot. And this week it's going to be a bit different from the previous weeks because this is more towards the kind of content I would like to do eventually on the channel. Today I'm going to discuss, does Singapore need NAS Daily and other expat bloggers? First of all, before I go into all this, it's best to know some of the history and the background involved in this entire case. If you're a fan of NAS Daily, you'll know he moved to Singapore this week. But what you might not know is all the backlash he's had. Now, to understand this, you need to go back a few years in time to a young idiot by the name of Amos Yee. Now, I am not going to go into his exploits on this video at all. You can go and Google him, right? But it was an experience with him that made Singaporeans very circumspect and very suspect of vloggers. They're not very highly regarded because of him. So, 7 months ago, when NAS Daily was on his 1 minute a day, 1,000 days video tour of the world, 7 months ago he came to Singapore and he made his usual videos on Singapore and he started getting a backlash. Now, this is partly due to the fact he made quite a lot of videos about Singapore. That wasn't because he was getting paid for them, that was actually because he was denied entry into Malaysia. And the reason for that, if you don't know, is that NAS is a Palestinian Muslim with an Israeli passport, and Malaysia doesn't allow anyone with an Israeli passport into its country for tensions in the Middle East between Israel and Palestine. Now, while he was negotiating entry into Malaysia and failing miserably, he eventually went on to China. But while he was here doing his 1 minute a day, 1,000 days videos, obviously he had to do more videos on Singapore than he would have liked to. So he got a backlash from this, from a certain contingent of Singaporeans who thought he was a mouthpiece for the ruling party in government here. They thought he was being paid by the government. They thought, obviously, he was making more videos on Singapore than any other country. This was a sign that he was actually a government shill, basically. None of that's true, obviously. But fast forward to this week, and NAS Daily announced that he was moving to Singapore this week. And there was outcry from people, oh, this government mouthpiece is returning to live in Singapore, he's obviously backed by the government, blah blah blah. It didn't help that an online real estate company basically gave him 3 months free rental of a very high-end apartment just off Orchard. I mean, it must cost like £5 grand a month or something. And obviously people were saying, well, look, he must be getting paid then. He's getting all this given to him, handed on a plate. That was basically just 99.co wants some free publicity, frankly. And they certainly got that. But because he's been given these things free almost, that's causing a lot of resentment between normal Singaporeans. They're saying, well, he's a foreigner coming to Singapore, so of course he's getting things handed to him on a plate. Now, I know from my own experience that's not the case. Nothing is getting handed to me on a plate. You can tell I told all that in the first video, so go back and watch that. You'll see how I documented how I got here, how I'm managing with the bureaucratic system here. You'll know all about that, okay? Basically, there's a contingent of Singaporeans who believe that the government bends over backwards for foreign talent, FTs, or in any outsider, right? That's not always the situation. I have to say that from my experience. There's other expat vloggers in Singapore already. 3 that spring to mind are currently Hannah, Georgia Caney, and Brianna in Singapore. Now, if you miss any of these names that I'm saying in the video, don't worry, I'll put links in the description for every single channel I mention. But they're 3 that come to mind. I'm sure there's more. Most of the Singapore vlogs seem to be by travel vloggers who are here on their 2-day layover on their way between Europe and Australia or further on in Asia. So they're they get 2 days of Singapore to experience it and not much else, so I don't really count those ones. However, currently Hannah, Georgia Caney, Brianna in Singapore, they all actually reside in Singapore, so that's the difference with them. Now obviously there are Singaporean vloggers. They tend to be people like Dkosh or Wa Banana. They tend to be like contingents getting together, performing comedy sketches or comedy is the main focus of the vlog. Doesn't seem to be about Singapore, so that's why I've discounted them as well. Not to discount their work, I enjoy their work, I'm subscribed to them, okay? But there's also other expat vloggers like Serpent ZA or Lil Y86 who do a lot of vlogs in China. I quite like their stuff. I quite appreciate their stuff. It's quite even-handed. Some of it's really positive about China. Some of it maybe not so much, and they get a lot of critique for that, but that's the way the money goes. Anyway, in conclusion, why does Singapore need more vloggers, expat vloggers? It's because no one else is really doing it. No Singaporeans are doing it. I would love to see a Singaporean do a Singaporean vlog, but it's not out there. And so it tends to be down to the expats who come to your country and do it as if they've been here all their lives and they haven't. And that can be a bit condescending. I get that, I understand that. You have every reason to hate white expat vloggers doing vlogs in Singapore, including myself, right? But all is not lost, right? There is room for more vloggers in Singapore because these three that I mentioned, they're all female. They all kind of diversify into things like lifestyle or style or fashion and beauty and makeup. And let's face it, I'm not exactly a great exponent of any of that. So I'm obviously not the demographic they're aiming at. So there's room for more vloggers, there's room for more variety. And I welcome Nas Daily into Singapore and doing more stuff. I hope to do more different stuff as well. Maybe a bit of gaming, a bit of let's play, maybe a bit of travel as well from a male perspective. Okay? That's why Singapore needs more access on the internet to people see more perspectives of Singapore. There's no bigger stage than the internet, and Singapore wants to be a world stage player. Why not? It can be, of course it can be, but the best place to do that is on YouTube, where people get to view it. So why not? Why not break out of that Singapore bubble and be on YouTube? If you like what you saw here today, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, give me a thumbs down, I don't mind. If you loved it, if you see one of my videos and you love it, please subscribe. If you hate it with all your might, if you share it amongst your friends and say, look at this stupid animal, fine, do that. But ring the notification bell so you can hate me next time as well, okay? From me, that's all for today. Bye.